So I've kind of been in the nonprofit space because I always am approaching things from the perspective of what can we do to solve a problem. Um, but technically, I've planted my feet wholeheartedly in the education space. From young to present, I've always been in education, particularly at the high school level. Um, but again, still in the education space, still thinking about how we can solve what's the problem and how can we solve it.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Grow Healthy Help People podcast, a podcast that Accordis puts on. We love talking to our nonprofit leaders to see about all the amazing things they are doing in their communities and around the world to make a difference. Today, I am here with Lisa from Competitive Edge EQ. How are you doing today?
I am fantastic. How are you, Shay?
I'm doing so good, so good.
Yeah.
Tell us where you're calling from.
Well, I'm calling from Maryland, um, Acton,
Yes.
Maryland, to be exact.
Okay, awesome, wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
before we get into all the wonderful things that you guys are doing at
Mhm.
Competitive Edge EQ, tell me a little bit about your story and kind of how you got to running Competitive Edge EQ and what brought you there. Have you always been in the nonprofit world, or what did that look like for you before here?
So the latter part, have I always been in the nonprofit world? Um, yes and no. And what I
Mhm.
mean by that is this is our second or my second nonprofit. When I was much younger in education, I am an educator by trade. So when I was much younger in education, I saw a need in the literacy space. Young people coming to high school having a difficult time reading. And so I started a nonprofit back then, a whole lot of years ago, probably before you were born, Shay. A whole lot of years ago, I started a nonprofit called Literacy Works Communication and Technology Center. And the purpose of that organization was to bridge the gap between the illiteracy space and technology. So I've kind of been in the nonprofit space because I always am approaching things from the perspective of what can we do to solve a problem. Um, but technically, I've planted my feet wholeheartedly in the education space. From young to present, I've always been in education, particularly at the high school level. Um, but again, still in the education space, still thinking about how we can solve what's the problem and how can we solve it. And so that brings me to competitive edge. Having been a former athlete, I think once an athlete, always an athlete. But having been an athlete having gone through the experience of recruiting and all the things, um, I bring that to this particular space. But more importantly, having a daughter who chose to play sport after tap dancing, ballet, jazz, all the things. She in soccer and several other sports. She kind of landed in basketball. We didn't push her in basketball. She kind of landed in basketball on her own. But seeing her navigate the space, particularly through the pandemic, um, her as much as thousands upon thousands of other athletes that we've been able to observe, watching them kind of navigate then the pandemic space when everything, the world shut down, which meant recruitment shut down, which meant now what does this mean for young people? Adults are
Right.
trying to figure it out, but young people equally so are trying to figure it out, and they didn't necessarily have the skill to be able to navigate in real time. So we were able to kind of help Bianca, navigate the space successfully. But we thought about it like how many other young people are having challenges across the country. How many young people are having emotional breakdowns, emotional struggles of trying to figure out how do I get through this? They've been playing sport, whether it's rugby, basketball, tennis, whatever. They've been playing it all of their lives. And what does this mean for me when sport is taken away? So youth sports is really, really important um, to the extent that young people's identity is kind of caught in the sport that they play because that's the thing that they've dedicated their life to. So because we've seen young people, adults, parents, that adults meaning parents, coaches, referees getting attacked, parents losing it on the sideline, attacking coaches, coaches yelling back at parents, coaches losing it on the sideline with athletes. We've seen all of that. So, what really is the problem? And for us, the problem was around emotional skills development, learning how to regulate your emotions, learning how to speak or articulate what you're feeling in real time, learning how to shift your emotional disposition in real time. All of those things are a challenge. And so we wanted to, as an organization, really focus in on that part. And so that's what we do with Competitive Edge. We focus in on building student athletes' emotional skills. We focus in on widening the lens for parents to think about how they're parenting. Through what lens are they parenting in the athletic space? But that leaks over to other aspects of their life, to include their family nucleus. How am I, through what lens am I parenting? And coaches alike, how can I coach better? So that's how we kind of got here. Um, and it's a passion pit for me. This is what I'm supposed to do with my life. Because I know for certain that if you could build your emotional skills, then it shows up differently for student athletes on the field, on the court, in the classroom, at home with parents. For parents, it shows up differently on the sideline, in the car, the godforsaken car home ride home
Yes. Yeah.
game, where parents are like, "What are you doing? What
Absolutely.
happened?
Yes.
Why didn't you shoot the
Yes.
ball?"
Yes.
So it
Absolutely.
shows up differently when you have the emotional skill development. It shows up differently,
Oh
and it
yeah.
allows us to have healthier relationships with other people, our teammates, our coaches, our parents, parent to child. We believe in the work that we're doing, and
Yeah.
so I'm
I love that.
excited to do it all the time.
Yes, I love that so much. And I love it too because even as parents, like I think a lot of us, growing up, we weren't raised knowing how to regulate those things either. And so when it's almost like this cycle, like if you don't learn how to do it as an adult because you didn't learn to do it as a kid, then how can you teach your child to do it?
True.
And so I think what you guys are doing is so wonderful, especially in the sports world. I mean, you're right, it gets so cool. It can get hot out there
It
on
can
the
get hot.
fields.
Yeah,
And
folks
so
literally lose
yeah,
where they are.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it, I think that's amazing. So tell me, how do you guys operate? What are the programs? How do people get involved with you?
Sure. So, of course, you want to contact us, right? And so you can
Mhm.
always do that by way of our website.
Yeah.
We are on Instagram, live and in living color, Competitive Edge EQ. I don't know what happened to the
Awesome.
EQ on the screen, but Competitive Edge EQ,
Awesome.
just as it's spelled out on
Okay.
Instagram. So those are ways that you can get in contact with us. The other thing, in terms of what we do, we take a two-prong approach.
Okay.
We work in the schools, and so our curriculum we implement it in the school here in the
Awesome.
county in the DMV area. But we are not partial to just the Maryland area specifically.
Mm.
Um, we believe that it works in the confines of a school. So we have a track specifically for schools, athletic programs, and then we have a community-based program. We are rolling out in the fall our Strength Beyond the Game EQ Academy. and that is community based, that allows for young people to be a part of that academy and spend a year with us learning how to develop their emotional skills, but also tinker in different careers. Because the other part that we want to make sure that we do is widen the lens around athletics, but allow young people to see themselves in other spaces. Because the truth of the matter is that sport is going to be over for many young people earlier than they anticipate, right? And so only 7% go on to play college college sports, period, whether basketball, softball, it doesn't matter. Only 7% of young people across the country will go on to play sport, which means that there is a whole lot of young people who have to find something else to do. And so the other part of the academy is to kind of explore careers in sport, because you don't have to leave the sport, but you could find other ways. If you wanted to be a lawyer, it's in sport. If you wanted to be a marketing director, it's in sport. If you want to be a doctor, you also can be in sport too. So learning how to really think through, how can I still be around the game that I love, do something different with longevity. That's the thing. With longevity, you still can be in the sport, around the sport, but with longevity, and helping athletes in the space, psychology, psychiatry, whatever you want to do. It's what's outside of sport. My husband would say any job that's outside of sport is inside of sport. So in the academy, we it allows us to build their emotional skills, explore careers outside of the court, athletics. And the other part is to explore who you are as an individual, because athletic foreclosure is real. And student athletes face it on a daily basis as they transition from the game or they retire from the game.
Mm.
They've spent a large portion of their life being told where to go, what time, and what to eat. And I have to go to skills and drills. I have to go to the weight room. I have to practice, and then I have to play a game. And then I need to get rest, and then I need to take care of my body to preserve my body, right? So there's all the things, but when all of that comes to an end, who am I outside of sport? So the academy allows us to explore every aspect of a child's experience. And then the other thing that I absolutely love about the work that we do is workshops that we have for parents and coaches. So parents, we intentionally set the space and the tone for parents to explore, as I mentioned earlier, what lens are they parenting from? We all parent through a lens, but have you thought about it from that perspective, right? Some of us parent through the lens of compassion and joy. Some of us parent through the lens of fear. That may be our dominant lens. With the lenses are interchangeable, but it's almost like being at the optometrist where they put you behind the machine and they flip the lens to say what's clear. Is that clear? Three or four? Four or five, right? We all parent through the same through several lenses. I think the question is, what is the dominant lens? And in sport, a lot of times the dominant lens is fear. I've played the game as a parent. I want to, I want my child to be better than or the lens of vicarious. What do you? It's when parents tend to live vicariously through their students. I was a football player, so you should be a football player. And guess what? You're going to do it better than me because I didn't get this when I was young. And then during the game, you didn't do well. And then after the game, now I'm reaming you because you didn't do well. And the child, any athlete knows I'm already hard on myself because I didn't perform well. So setting the stage and a space for parents to really explore through our parenting through the EQ lens. I love it because parents have an awakening about their parenting style. And then they have skills to kind of take back to their families to kind of implement in real time. So, programming with parents oftentimes is around workshops, programming with coaches as well, coaches thinking about how they're coaching, thinking about the whole child, not just the win, but really focusing in on the whole child, their learning style. Do you really know how your athletes learn? Or are you doing the same thing over and over again, not paying attention to the fact that they may be a kinesthetic learner, they may be a tactile learner? So having those workshops with coaches as well is a joy for us.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. So, do you see it as something that eventually schools everywhere will not just like take this program in, but they'll require it for their sports and their coaches because it's so impactful in their coaching and in their playing and in their, emotional mindset? Like, do you see it as something that schools could start requiring?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Here
Yeah.
in Maryland, they have, and it may very well be in other places outside of youth sports. So I'm going to speak from two lenses, right? So youth sports, there's always this online. I can't think of the name of the platform, and I don't want to be rude and misname them, but there is a platform that coaches go through the Go Coach assessment or whatever. They go through and they have to do a series about being a good coach, right? In schools now, because people are now, thank goodness, starting to lean into mental health, learning how to identify when a young person is in a mental crisis or they're mentally unwell. There is pockets of the country that are requiring that. Maryland is one that requires their athletic director to go through that process, right? But what I hope to establish soon is the emotional piece, the where we are teaching deliberately what does it look like when a child is going through emotionally, and how do we tap into, how do we pull from our own skills to be able to navigate, help that child navigate that space. So emotional development, emotional intelligence, SEL in schools, um, we have to bring all of that work to the athletic space so that we are paying attention to a child when they're in an emotional crisis. Um, and sometimes we don't lean in until the child is in full blown crisis mode. And then we're saying something's wrong. But what we say is that if we are able to build that skill before the young person has a crisis, then they have a toolkit. They have a toolkit to pull from. So, yeah, this is what I do believe that across the country, we are willing to work with folks all across the country to do the work that we do right here in Maryland,
Yeah.
Virginia, and
I love
Washington.
that. Yeah, I think it would be incredible. I think it's needed, and I think it would benefit so many coaches and students and schools and clubs. And I think it would be so incredibly beneficial. What do you see right now as your biggest challenges? Is your biggest challenge getting that to where you want it to go, or is it more focused around like the financial side, just raising the money to do what you want to do? Where are your biggest challenges in running
So
this?
the biggest challenge is funding,
Yeah.
right? Just making sure that we have enough funding, particularly now nonprofits are having a difficult time. Um,
Yes.
Nonprofit work is hard in itself, but funding is the major thing. So just making sure that we could tap into the community and even larger donor bases to just make sure that we're able to do the work. I think for us is the most difficult to just before the work is done. I think the second part of that is having coaches, parents specifically, not young people, but coaches and parents specifically understand how valuable the work is. So much so that they have to reposition the win. Everyone wants, excuse me, everyone wants to win, but if you do the work, if you create space, time, and opportunity for your young people to become heart smart, that is learning how to regulate their emotions, learning how to be a good teammate, learning how to shift their emotional disposition in real time, learning how to the language of emotion, right? Learning how emotions settle themselves in their body, learning their triggers. If coaches leaned into that, winning will eventually become primary. But what happens right now is that everyone is in pursuit of the win, anybody's expense. And unfortunately, when money becomes a thing, when money becomes the primary driver, all the other things become secondary to everything else. So the child's emotional disposition becomes secondary. In college, we have to win. My job depends on the win. But if coaches reposition their thought around that, if I invest in the human being, then they will run through the wall for me because they know I genuinely am concerned about them. But what is happening now is that everything is driven by money and wins. With NIL, the collective, there's so much happening in youth sport, high school sport, and college that it's changing on the whim. So we have to keep our head on the swivel around it. But the other part too is that I think we have to take care of the whole being. They're not just bodies running up and down the floor. You're not just a coach on the sideline. It's not just about the youth or the young adult. It's also about the coach's well-being. They too. So I love the workshops that we do with the coaches because they too have to learn how to navigate their emotions in real time. So they're not getting attacked. You don't want to take a foul on the sideline because you've called out the referee because of bad play.
Like, yeah.
Everybody benefits from the development. So that's probably, I think, if we had to kind of encapsulate it for us, funding is a major part. So we're always looking for people to not just fund, but get involved in the work that we're doing. And so I would certainly share with listeners, get involved in the work that we're doing. Bring your expertise because it's not just the dollar, it's the expertise that you bring that will allow us to continue to do the work. So get involved in the process. No, it doesn't matter where you are in the country. Get involved. You can get involved with us in the process. Join our team, right? But and the other part, yes, we do need funding. And yes, we do need for coaches, parents, to lean in to the idea that emotional skill development is primary. It's primary. You mentioned, Shay, about learning how to exist in relationship. We learn through vicariously through our family nucleus. And sometimes that's not the best, but that's the one thing we learn how to do unintentionally. But when you have skills, emotional skill development, you learn better how to navigate relationship, whether it's on a team, with your coach, with your
Yeah.
teachers, with your parents. So I need for people to lean into it, Shay. Is all.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. If you're listening to this and you're a nonprofit leader, everything that Lisa's talking about, especially funding, we all know it's extremely difficult to get funding right now. And let's be honest, there are hundreds of thousands of, nonprofit organizations that are amazing and doing great work. And so
Yes.
it is a challenge. But when you can't always be talking face to face with someone and telling them why you're doing what you're doing and kind of the story behind it and the impact you're making. You need a way to show people that on a mass scale and in a big way. And so that's something that a Cordis can come in and help you with. Marketing is so important. Creating visuals for people, creating materials that people can see your why without you having to be face to face with them is so incredibly important. Annual reports, vision reports, those are all things that nonprofits need to be able to show the impact they're making, because we have to be able to do that as a nonprofit in order for people to get excited about what we're doing and want to invest in us and our vision. And so, if you're a nonprofit leader, our link will be at the end of the show. We would love for you to reach out to us so we can help you guys out. So, as far as helping you, Lisa, anywhere around the world, I know you mentioned your website, and we're going to have your website linked at the end of the show as well. But they can find how to donate there. What if, what are other ways people can get involved? Can people volunteer with you?
Yeah.
Can people in other areas, contact you and say, hey, how can we get this in our area? Tell us just a little bit about that.
Sure. So volunteer, I'm going to start there
Yeah.
first because I know this want to be piped throughout the country, but
Mm.
we always are looking for volunteers. We have
Yeah.
an event coming up on July 25th called the Community Legacy Awards. So if you're in the Maryland,
Yeah.
Washington D.C., Virginia area, Richmond, as far as Richmond, it doesn't matter to us. If you are willing to volunteer for the event, it would be great. It
Yeah.
is an opportunity to the Community Legacy Awards. We do two awards. So with James Brown, the Spirit of Service Award. James Brown is a sportscaster, NFL sportscaster
Mm.
and sports analyst for CBS, and so we named an award in his honor. If you're willing to jump in, we need volunteers. If you're in the area, we need volunteers. Likewise, if you're not in the area and you say, well, hey, how can I help? Well, we have tons of athletes who will be at that event. So you can always sponsor an athlete, sponsor a table for athletes. That too is on our website. If you click on events, you'll see the link for the event. You click on that link, it asks you if you want to purchase a ticket or purchase a student athlete table. We have student athletes that are coming who are not able to afford to attend the need, and so it will be wonderful and helpful if anyone is interested in doing that. Coming to you, we travel, so it doesn't matter where you are in the country. We just want to do the work. We've worked with Temple University women's basketball team, so we work at the university and collegiate level. Obviously, we come in and do workshops, team building exercises, all the things. With youth programs, we do the same. We do retreats with AAU programs, Pop Warner programs, volleyball programs. You name it, we do it. We'll come wherever you would have us to come. So the easiest way to contact me specifically, you can contact me at lisa.leonard, my name, at compedeq.org. Of course, you can leave a message on Instagram and I will get that message as well. So just to make it real easy for you. Um, and of course, you can go to our website and just hit a submit a form, and I too can reach out to you that way. So it doesn't matter where you are. Sport is the one thing that brings the country together. It's the one thing that we can like jump in and scream and yell and be excited for the win and be sad for the losses. Yes, absolutely. The last place too for certain is LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. You found me there.
Yes, absolutely. Love it.
Of course, I love these kinds of conversations, Shay, because one, thank you for reaching out to say, hey, let's just have this conversation
Yeah.
because connection is important, right? Visibility is important. The work that you guys do to support nonprofits, whether it's marketing or anything of the like, is really important, right? And
Mm.
so LinkedIn is a surefire way to connect with me in real time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. Well, this has been amazing. Guys, if you are excited, as most of us are, if you're excited about sports, if you have kids involved in sports, grandkids involved in sports, if this is just something you are passionate about or you see the vision and the need, go check out their website, see how you can get involved, whether you're local or you're not local and you want to see this in your area, figure out how you can get involved. If you would just like to give and help grow their mission, you can go and do that. Sponsor kids, help with this event. There's so many ways that you can get involved. And like Lisa was saying, sports are what bring the whole country together. This is something that is everywhere and is so important, and that the emotional side of it really does need to be grown and help, because she mentioned it so many times, but we see it all the time, all of the chaos that happens at sporting events. And so that emotional side is so needed and so important. So please get involved with them. Please check them out. Educate yourself. I know she would love it.
Yes,
Lisa, it was so amazing to have you today. Thank you so much for sharing all about what you guys are doing.
absolutely. Thank you for holding space for me to do so. It's
Yes,
important. So
absolutely.
I appreciate you for reaching out just to create space
Absolutely.
for it. Yeah.
Yes, so good. Well, guys, we will see you next time on the podcast. Have a good day.